Hello and welcome. My name is Jonathan Realman and this is The Realman Show. Today we're talking with Gil from Israel. So Gil, what's your passion? What do you want to talk about?
Hello, and thank you for your invite.
No problem.
I came here today to talk about cooking. I think cooking is amazing. I think it's probably the highest return on investment kind of skill you can put effort into. I think it enriches your life well beyond what most people think it does, and I will die on this hill if I'm forced to.
Okay, and what's your relation to cooking? Do you have any experience in the field? Are you a cook, or is it a hobby you picked up?
So, I haven't ever had a job as a cook or anything like that. It's strictly something I do at home, although that's been kind of changing recently, and I'll get into that later.
Okay.
I started cooking when I was, I'd say, 16 or 17. My parents divorced when I was 2 years old, and when I was 14, I moved in with my dad. And one of the most, let's say, significant differences between my mom's house and my dad's house was that in my dad's house, I had to eat my dad's cooking. And that was not very pleasant, because my dad is not a very good cook. He's been, he's been, kind of spurred by my picking up of cooking to kind of improve himself recently. So I'm happy about that at least. But back in the day, it was mostly, frozen burgers and fries. And that wasn't very nutritious or very delicious.
Yeah, I'm guessing not very healthy either.
No, not at all. And I did gain a lot of weight. A lot. I mean, a lot, really a lot.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, bad diet does that to your body.
Oh, absolutely. It will just ruin your body. And I think actually that's one of the greatest benefits of being able to cook is not just, not being dependent on, if you don't have a lot of money, you will be dependent on cheap industrial processed food to feed yourself.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
That is very unhealthy. Yeah, it's extremely unhealthy. It's not very delicious either. And the amount of effort you need to put in to kind of free yourself from that dependency it's not a small amount. It's not something you do overnight, but it's definitely not this long and arduous process that takes years to perfect. And people don't understand, I think, that you don't have to be a two Michelin star chef to be able to cook a meal that you will sit down and eat and want to lick your fingers after. It's definitely not the case.
I myself started cooking at some point, and I'm not the best, so I know kind of what the struggle is at the beginning. What advice would you give to someone who's just starting out? Because I myself, who didn't have any experience, never cooked with my mom, never cooked with my dad, I had a very hard time getting into it, learning how to actually follow recipes, for instance, what kind of methods there are for searing meat or what that even means. So what would you say? Where can someone start?
So I think first of all, it's very important to acknowledge that this time in history that we're living in is probably the best time for anyone who wants to be a home cook to start, because the amount of information that's out there and the availability of that information is so astonishing. You can find guides on, find 1,000 guides on how to do a single, kind of sear of a kind of cut of meat on YouTube very easily by just looking up, how to sear, I don't know, pork belly. You can do that, and you will find good information.
Yeah, well, that's how I did it too.
Don't be, daunted. Right, yeah. And that is how you would, because, unless you have someone who's right there by your side and helping you through and kind of guiding you through all these processes, you're not going to be able to make it right away. And that's the first thing, I don't want to be the eternal pessimist, but the first thing you should put in your head when you come into cooking, and I think that's more or less when you come into anything new, when you go into any kind of new field or new hobby is that you should expect to fail, and that is okay. You won't necessarily fail as drastically as you might think. Just because you don't follow the recipe exactly, or just because you haven't cooked this quite all the way through, or you've overcooked it, doesn't mean it's not edible. It doesn't mean you haven't made progress. It doesn't mean that it won't be delicious. I've overcooked meats, and I've overcooked spaghetti, and I've overfried my potatoes, and I ate all of it. The one thing that when you gotta deal with your failure, when you gotta eat it, you gotta kind of put your fingers over your nose and kind of go, well, I guess that's edible. That's a really good incentive to get good fast, is to not throw away your failures. Put them in, bear through it. But really, I mean, there is value to that. It's not just in the sense that you don't want to eat it. You don't want to eat something disgusting, so you won't make something disgusting. It's not just that. It's also that, if you overcook your spaghetti, you will not be aware of that if you just look at it. You go, I don't think this is cooked good, and you just throw it away. You won't know, and you need to kind of develop a feel for how your food tastes when it's well done, and how it tastes when it's not so well done. So an important thing is to expect to not, get it right away. And the phase in which your food tastes bad will not last as long as you think. It only takes maybe 2 or 3 times of cooking spaghetti very, very badly before you just go, okay, you know what? I'll just go get a timer, and I'll set it. I don't know, how long does it take to cook spaghetti off the top of my head? 12 minutes, 30 minutes. It depends on the thickness or whatever.
Yeah,
but just set a timer if you have to.
Yeah, definitely. I feel that.
Yeah.
I mean, I overcooked rice, so I know the pain of a very dirty pan or a very dirty pot. So yeah, the timer is probably the best invention for a cook.
When you overcook it and the steam's all gone and it just starts burning the bottom layer.
Yeah, my girlfriend wasn't very happy about that.
Yeah, when you do it real bad, what will happen is it will just start to carbonize, and it will just stick to the pan.
Yeah.
You gotta take steel wool and grind it off or something.
Yeah.
Because, what I did is actually, this one time I just really messed up. And I took my stainless steel skillet, and I overcooked. I don't remember what it was, some kind of meat. And, I forgot. I went to do something. I was like, okay, I'm going to be back here in 30 seconds to kind of stir this up and turn the heat down. And I didn't. I didn't come back. And it just sat there for 10 minutes. I have no idea why I did it. I have no idea how that just escaped my mind.
Did you eat it?
But when I came back... What?
Did you eat it?
Well, I think I would have had to cough up some money for medical bills if I had.
But aren't you supposed to eat your failures?
It was charcoal at this point. It wasn't. I can tell what's wrong with it. I don't have to taste it to know that it's charcoal.
I guess I let that one slide.
Yeah. So what I did is I took an electrical orbital grinder, and yeah, it was I tried regular what's it called Scotch Brite didn't work. I tried steel wool, didn't work. Tried boiling it with soap and laundry detergent and vinegar. Nothing worked. So I just I threw up my hands in despair. I took the orbital grinder. I just give it a little grind, and that works. So if you have an orbital grinder, don't be afraid to use it. No. I hope you don't ever mess up as bad as I did. But whatever it takes. And that kind of brings me to the second point, which is, don't buy expensive gear. If you're starting cooking, don't go and get the 12 knife set from like 10 trillion times folded Japanese steel. You don't need this. Actually, I should say, just on kind of a small tangent, if you ever see folded steel like as a selling point, don't buy it, because you only really need to fold steel to kind of even out impurities. So if you see folded steel as a selling point on a knife, it's bad material. It's don't get it. You just get like the what you want to get is the chromium vanadium steel. That is the really good stuff. And if you can get your hands on some Damascus, that's even better. But this is things you don't need to be concerned about right now, because if you're just starting out, what I would recommend is go to your local supermarket or department store or whatever, and get the $10 knife. That is what you want. You want 3 knives is what you need. You need 1 bread knife. That's the long one. That is about 8, 9, 10 inches, and it's serrated, so it's got the teeth. You want 1 chef's knife, which is kind of like the classical knife shape. It's kind of curved blade a little bit, and it's about 7 or 8 inches long. And you want 1 paring knife, which is about maybe 3 inches long. And that is all. Those are all the knives you need. You don't need anything else if you're starting out. Nothing else, right? Now, if you want to go,
I guess you need a pan and pots.
Well, sure, yeah, but like get the cheap stuff, because the cheap stuff at the department store will last you longer than you think it will. Now, obviously, you don't want to get a $10 knife and stick with it for like 5 years. That's a bad idea. But get 3 knives and get yourself a honing steel. So the honing steel is the steel rod that you use to quote unquote sharpen your knife. You're actually not sharpening your knife. You're straightening out the edge. And that is very important that you hone your knife for every time you start cooking, you start using your knife, and because that is because you want to keep your knife sharp. Because a sharp knife is a good knife. It's a comfortable knife, and most importantly, it's a safe knife. You don't want to be forced to apply force, because if you apply force, the probability that you're going to slip or you're going to do some kind of harm to your environment or the knife, or most importantly to yourself, increases. You don't want that. Keep your knife sharp. That's important. You don't want a crazy knife, especially if you're starting out. You're not worthy of getting a really good knife. That takes effort. The $200 knife that you see on the top shelf in the cooking supply store, that's like extra premium, free range steel, grass fed, all that steel. That is your reward for when you become a good cook and you start cooking for other people. And then you've got a reputation to keep, and you can't just come to the kitchen with a regular knife, because they'll make fun of you. So that is the knife you want then. For now, you're good with a shitty knife.
You mean
just
if you
keep it sharp?
You mean if you like
it will
start
serve
making
you well.
You mean if you like start making YouTube videos for Gordon Ramsay and stuff like that? Then you want the premium, biodegradable, extremely healthy, low carbohydrate knife.
I wouldn't recommend a biodegradable knife.
No, neither would I. But I wouldn't recommend a grass-fed knife either.
Well, sometimes you gotta feed grass to your knife if you're cutting like green onions or something.
Yeah, fair enough.
But no. Going back to what I was saying. Keep things simple. Don't make the entry bar very high for yourself. You don't need a very good knife. You don't need very, very good utensils and cooking supplies. Cook well. Keep that in mind. And you shouldn't be daunted by people telling you, oh, well, I have this great knife or that great knife. Well, the question you should be asking yourself is, does my knife cut well? And does it do anything that I would want it to do? And if the answer to that is yes, then you do not need a better knife. And for the most part, unless you're a really good cook, the answer will be yes to that question. I've been cooking for what, I said I started cooking like 16 or 17, so I've been cooking for at least 5.5 years. 3 months ago, I got myself this knife that's about 5 inches long, and I got it for I think $7, and I'm perfectly happy with it. In 2 years, when the knife actually starts wearing off and I can't sharpen it very well anymore with a whetstone, I'll actually get a proper knife. But for now, the style of knife that I got, it's called a knackery. I won't get into that, but I don't need a better knackery now. Right now, it does the job, and that's all I need.
No,
so keep that in mind.
That's fair, and I think that takes a lot of fear away from people who believe that this is an expensive hobby. This is a hobby you can't just stumble into. The way you make it seem, at least, it's very accessible. And it's something that I think everyone, at least in a modern Western nation, could afford doing.
I certainly hope that people get that impression from what I'm saying, because it's not only that it's an inexpensive hobby, it actually saves you a lot of money.
Go on.
Right, so, okay, well, let's say that you go out to a nice Chinese restaurant, and you get yourself, I don't know, pad thai, or you get yourself some fried noodles, right? Just some stir-fried noodles. That's the word I'm looking for. Yeah, the stir-fried noodles. But how much would you pay for a nice chunky bowl of stir-fried noodles?
Depends on the quality. Higher end one's $20, lower end one's $5.
Yeah, right, exactly. Right, so you can make something that's about the quality of the $20 stir-fry at home fairly quickly. You can make a lot of it for a lot less than what you would be paying the restaurant owner to do that, to give it to you. It's really easy. It's very cheap. All you need, you get yourself some soy sauce, you get yourself the veggies that you're gonna use, which, I mean, veggies are really, really inexpensive, when you think about it, because when you get yourself like a bowl of stir-fry noodles, usually you'll get about, at most, like 10 cents or 20 cents worth of carrots and lettuce, whatever else the restaurant puts in there. But you can buy for $1 more veggies than you can put in like 10 bowls of that kind of stir fry.
No, I mean, it depends where you're getting it, I guess.
Yeah, well, you should avoid farmers markets, because if you're starting out and if you want to make good food for low cost, go to do yourself a favor, go to the supermarket. The quality of the things there is definitely not very much lower than anything you would find at the farmer's market. I feel like farmer's market people go there for the experience, and I wholly appreciate that. And I went to a farmer's market once, and it was a great experience, because, you get to meet the people who grow what you're buying, and you get to ask them questions, and, there's this nice community feel to it. Even though nowadays, I think the community, I don't really get the community feel, because I get the community feel out of a community and not out of going shopping. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get that.
So just go to the supermarket, get the discounts. Make sure you get you follow the discount brochures that they put in your mailbox, or you download the app or whatever they want to do. They want to make you download the app so you can follow the discounts and the sales and all that. Get your food for cheap, and that's actually it's a good segue to the next part of how you should start cooking, which is, make sure that you know what you want to cook before you go to the supermarket, and make sure you mark down and start taking lists of what you need, because that's very important. And the greatest benefit that gives you is, first of all, if you're kind of a very, very unorganized, you don't have your supplies, you don't have the experience to kind of throw something out of what you've got in the fridge. You can't just throw something together because you're not experienced enough. You don't have enough dishes in your repertoire. Make sure that you follow the recipes and get exactly what they tell you to get. And one of the greatest benefits of this is that, first of all, you start getting control over what comes into your house in terms of food. And that's very important because if you're if you're someone who cares about their diet and their health and the health of the people in their household who also eat, then knowing what comes into your house is very important. Because suddenly you think you go to the supermarket and you get like 3 packs of chocolate and you don't really think much of it. But then, you see that, 3 packs of chocolate in the list and you go, do I really need this? Can I skip this time? And, I've found that it's a lot easier to skip these unnecessary things that you buy when you're more focused.
Yeah,
So
I guess.
So first of all, it also obviously gives you control over, it gives you knowledge over what you put into your house and into your mouth. But also it, makes it very easy to monitor your budget. Because if you know roughly what the price of everything is, then you know what your food budget is ahead of time. You don't just, get to the supermarket and you look at the receipt and you find out, oh, I've spent like $30 more than I expected to spend. Because $30 is, that's a significant amount. And you should be careful with your money. You should be frugal with your money, even if you're doing well for yourself. Because, the good times can always just like this go away. And it's always nice, to prepare for a rainy day. Which is actually also a good thing, because in the apocalypse, probably the most valuable skill is going to be cooking.
Well, that or
and
weaponsmith.
like hunting, cooking, and medical knowledge would be very, very helpful in the apocalypse. So if you're a prepper, you need to know how to cook. This is to all you schizos out there who genuinely think that the zombies are gonna be descending upon us anytime soon. Well, you better, get your guns and your pans, because you'll be needing those. So back to topic.
Yeah, I'm guessing we should start wrapping this up slowly. So what has cooking done in your life for you? What has been the transformative effect of it?
Right. So I think the greatest joy that I've had, and this is something that I've kind of started experiencing recently, because I haven't had the opportunities until very recently to do this. But cooking for others has just made my experience of cooking so much different. So like I said, I moved in with my dad when I was 14, and that was because, when I was 14, I hit a very rough patch in the relationship I had with my mother, and I decided, it's time to kind of pack up and leave. And, it took a very long time for me and for my mother to kind of want to heal things up and patch things up. And I think, even though we've kind of, we've had a relationship that, for 2 or 3 years, we've had a relationship that was proper and, we were getting along. I always kind of had this feeling that, this woman that I'm in a relationship with, I don't really feel connected to her very much. And that changed pretty drastically when she invited me this one time, this Thursday night. So for those of you who don't know, Jews have their Sabbath on Saturday, not on Sunday, and you kind of use Friday to prepare for the Sabbath. So you can't cook in the Sabbath, so you cook the day before, and if you have a especially big family, you start cooking the night of the day before. So that would be Thursday night. She invited me. She was like, how about you? I know you like cooking. Like, come over and we'll cook. And I was like, okay, let's do this. And every time I go to her, for a weekend. No, I come the evening of the Thursday before, and we can start cooking at maybe 7 p.m. and we'll be done at around 2 a.m. and we'll just talk this whole time. So cooking with other people, I mean, the amount of information that you find out about someone, because when someone starts cooking, they kind of open up. Because when someone likes cooking and when someone does something that they like, they're in a good mood, and you kind of get this vibe going on, and it really makes for a very joyous experience. And I think in many ways, cooking really helped me mend, not even mend, just generally improve my relationship with my mother. Because I enjoy being around her now, regardless of whether or not we're cooking. And I think until we really started cooking, that wasn't there. I think even though we had improved our relationship before we started cooking, that really kind of pushed it over the edge of being kind of okay to really, I enjoy being around.
So, yeah, that's a very enviable experience, and I feel like a lot of people out there who are a little bit disconnected from their family could probably use cooking, as weird as that sounds, to get a foothold back in, because no one says
Absolutely.
no to like a free and good meal.
Absolutely. And I think nowadays, I don't want to go too far off topic, but there is, I feel like, kind of an erosion of the family, especially the nuclear family in the West. And I've kind of experienced this because when I left home, I had a lot of support from people to just cut off any kind of connection with my mother. And, I regret that very greatly nowadays. But obviously I was fortunate enough to, kind of have this dawn on me that despite our differences, she is my mother and I owe her my life. And so the cooking thing was just kind of like a cherry on top, but it's a very big cherry.
Yeah, very tasty one.
Like that.
Really juicy.
Absolutely. It tastes like last time we cooked some lamb. It was delicious. You have, those of you who've never tasted my mom and mine lambs. I mean, I kind of feel bad for you. But you're welcome anytime. But you'll have to keep the Sabbath, so that's a bit of a pain in the ass. So I don't know. You also have to come to Israel, which might also be a pain in the ass.
Yeah, you're almost landlocked by enemy nations, aren't you?
Yeah, one of the things about Israel is that from where I am right now, I can't drive 200 miles in any direction without being either in the middle of the ocean or in enemy territory.
Oh, damn it.
Yeah. Well, it's a nice little country. And I'll get the most out of it that I can.
So, is there any way or any form people can actually reach you for questions? Or do you have a YouTube channel or anything where you, in some way, elaborate on your hobby?
I'm quite a bit more busy nowadays than I was in the past.
Oh, I've noticed.
I'm not quite sure. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was a real pain getting this thing going.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'll give some context, because I was just, funnily enough, cooking for the day, and I was, slicing the chicken. I was thinking, it's about time I do that podcast with Jonathan. And I was thinking, oh, wait, I'm like 30 minutes late to the podcast. So I just kind of rushed back. I finished up as soon as I could, and I rushed back, and I was like, oh, are you there? And it was like, oh, well, you're lucky, because I was just about to go to bed, is what you said.
Yeah. Yeah, it was.
I think I'll share one last experience before we end this.
Okay, go ahead.
Lovely interview. So I think the culmination of my ability to cook, kind of the peak so far, and I hope this is one peak in a long ridge of mountains that will kind of keep extending into the future. But I've had the opportunity to go with some friends and have a campfire last week, and there was a lot of cooking to be done because we were 10 or 12 people, and me and a pal of mine were in charge of all the cooking. we had quite a lot of attention given to us by those, vagina humans that I keep hearing about. And that was very nice. It was very nice getting all those kind of positive reinforcements from everyone around us. Even if you're not the center of attention, people definitely appreciate you being in charge of the food and you knowing what you're doing and you taking something that is inedible and making it into something that they just, can't wait to put in their mouths and lick their fingers off of.
Yeah, unless they're raw vegetarians, then they think you're making it inedible.
Oh, no, we had a vegan with us and he was, he had his own,
No, I mean raw vegans.
vegan
Ever
meat.
heard of them?
Raw vegans?
Yeah, they only eat raw food.
I don't think that's very advisable.
No.
Do they eat raw meat?
No, they're vegans.
Okay, well, I mean, good luck, raw vegans. Godspeed.
Yeah.
Don't come in my house.
No, I totally agree. Yeah, no, definitely, and I guess that all the attention from women does you some good as well.
Cooking makes you very attractive to women.
Obviously,
men will absolutely fawn over you if you're a woman who knows how to handle a knife and you know what you're doing in the kitchen. You make something that the old adage that the way into a man's heart passes through his stomach is absolutely true, and it also applies to women.
I'm gonna be honest here. I'd probably fake attraction to a guy if he cooked really well, just so I can eat.
Well, there you go. I mean, if I was hungry enough, whatever it takes.
Yeah, whatever it takes. I mean, I'm not gonna kiss him. I'm just gonna say it outright. I'm not gonna give him a hug or something. But, I'll definitely pretend like I'm interested.
Oh, is that what you're, talking to me right now?
Yes.
Oh boy. Well, that's a lot of effort just, to get my cooking. Someone could probably cook nearer to you.
Oh, that's true. Maybe everyone should find someone who cooks a bit nearer to them.
Maybe that someone should be themselves.
Maybe that's, yeah. Actually, I mean, what am I making this show for? If not to transform the lives of the few people who feel touched by the stories that others tell.
Hell yeah.
Well, I really have to thank you for coming to this episode. And,
thank you very much for inviting me.
Oh, anytime.
Every moment.
Anytime. So, if there's any comments or questions in the video towards you or me, I'll definitely put them forth to you. So
absolutely.
You can answer them directly on the website, or you can let me answer them for you. If you ever want to do a follow-up on this to elaborate on something, feel free. My door's always open. And that also goes towards the audience. My door is always open.
Wow, you actually made it till the end of the episode. Thank you for listening. If you want to be part of the Realman Show and share your passion, feel free to reach out at realmanshow@protonmail.com. Links are gonna be in the description.